y'all, Violet here, second generation homeschooling mom of 3. I have a 9-year-old, a 6-year-old, and a toddler. And today I wanted to share with you some of the books that we checked out in March. So let's get into it. So I'm going to show you my son's books, my daughter's books, some books that I kind of checked out for everybody, the books that my daughter's reading for school, and then the books that my son is reading for school. So that's kind of the structure of this video. So my son is an emerging reader. He's starting to read chapter books. So he read this Bad Guys book. He actually read the whole thing to me and he enjoyed it. So we'll be checking out more of them in this series. He loves the Super Rabbit Boy books, but he's bought most of them. So I don't have any of them in this library video, but those are popular right now. And then he also really liked this Who Would Win collection. So he read this whole thing. And he was also he read it to himself silently, which I think it's the first book that he's really read entirely to himself without needing to vocalize while he read it, which is an exciting stage to reach. But he also was telling me things in it that were wrong. Most notably, they said that the smallest shark in the ocean was, I don't remember, some kind of shark. And he was like, no, Mom, that's wrong. The dwarf lantern shark is the smallest shark in the ocean. So I definitely know that he was reading and internalizing and not just looking at the pictures. So that's really exciting. And then he also checked out this book, Narwhal, Unicorn of the Arctic. Both of my kids really like narwhals, but this book is very lyrical and the illustrations are really pretty and it has a lot of information woven into the story. So I really liked reading this one to everybody. This next book is a kind of a 2-in-1 or a flip book, I guess. I'm not really sure what the technical name for it is, but it's above the sea on one side and then you flip it over and it's below the sea on the other side. So that was really cool. My kids always think that is cool. I guess some kids might be annoyed, but my kids think it's cool. So Under the Sea is one part, and then you flip it over, and it's Life Above the Sea, and they connect in the middle. So, yeah, and there's separate tables of contents on each end. The last book that my son checked out, I actually suggested to him because I'd seen it in the Mama Librarian's unit study, one of her unit studies videos, and I thought it looked really cool. And then I saw it at our library and was like, oh, we should check that out. So he really enjoyed this book as well. It's all about different bioluminescent creatures. A lot of them are fish, especially deep sea. Well, I guess they're not all fish, but deep sea creatures. So yeah, this book was really cool too. My daughter right now her big read is she's reading through the Harry Potter series. So she finally finished the 5th book, which was such a slog for her. And I remember it being a slog for me as well. It's definitely not my favorite and it's so long. So she's finally reading this one. She just started it and this one's going a little bit better. She's enjoying this one a little bit more. So that's nice. We also checked out the illustrated edition of the 5th one. She doesn't like checking out the illustrated editions until after she's read the book because she doesn't want it to mess with her vision of how things go. But she also doesn't want to read the illustrated edition because it's just too big. So every so often there'll be an illustration. And then the pages are kind of picture book-like. So yeah, she'll look through it all when she's done reading the book and kind of look at how their version compares to how she thinks of it. All right, and then she checked out Year of the Dog by Grace Lynn. We went and saw Grace Lynn speak. She gave an excellent presentation, and she read the first 2 chapters of Year of the Dog at the very end of her presentation, and so my daughter really wanted to check this book out and read it. It's autobiographical. It's about Grace Lynn growing up, her very first year of the dog that she experienced, and yeah, it's really good so far. This next book is called Chickenpox, and it's about a girl who gets chickenpox and all about that and how chickenpox, she obviously is fine with chickenpox, but I do appreciate that they mentioned that it can be more serious or severe for some kids. So that was a nice graphic novel. This next book is called Bake Sale, and it's about this cupcake that owns a bakery and this eggplant that helps him and just kind of some of their struggles, especially cupcake struggles with running the bakery. And then there's some recipes at the back. So that was fun too. These next 2 books are Raina Telgemeier. I'm not sure how you say her name, but these are, I see these all over the place. Lots of people love these books. So they're just kind of graphic novels about growing up. So this one's about a girl getting braces. This one is about a girl who gets a stomach bug, but there's more going on than that. And yeah, they're just really fun. These next two books were written by Isabel Thomas. She also wrote Exploring the Elements, which is a book about the periodic table that my kids love, that was illustrated by Sarah Gillingham, who is also one of our favorite illustrators. So my daughter read these two books, and they have a lot of different ideas for ways that kids can be environmentally friendly and kind of cut down on the negative consequences of their actions. Well, like it says, ditch plastic, cut pollution, things like that. But the focus is on things that are very manageable for kids to do. So my daughter read both of these books, and then she went through and made a list picking the specific things that she thought were going to be easy for her to implement in her life. Things like taking a 5-minute shower instead of taking a bath. So she really liked these. She found them inspiring, and she went through and made a list of the things that she wanted to implement. So I thought that was really nice. And then this last book is called Taylor Swift by the Book. My daughter did not make it all the way through this, but she checked it out because she listens to some Taylor Swift. She's not hugely into Taylor Swift, but she does kind of vaguely know who she is. But what this book is it dissects every single one of her songs and pulls out all of the references to other things, like literary references and things like that, and explains them. So a lot of this, my daughter hasn't read whatever work it's referencing, and the explanation in here is not enough to hold her interest, basically. But I do think this book is really cool. And then my daughter checked out this classic fairy tales book. She enjoyed these. I don't really have much to say about this. It's a classic collection of fairy tales with illustrations that are nice. This next book is the newest Greeking Out book. My daughter's listened, actually both of my kids have listened to all of the Greeking Out podcast episodes, and we checked out the first book when it came out, and so now this is the second book. So my daughter was actually reading this aloud to my son, although he could probably read it himself, but they were reading different stories from here and little inserts and everything, and they really, really enjoyed this. This next book my daughter checked out, I think because she thought it was going to be similar to those two environmental books by Isabel Thomas, but this is actually more like earth science type stuff. So she did enjoy this book, but it was not quite what she was expecting. But I thought the way that it was laid out was inviting and engaging, and the writing style is pretty spot on for where she's at right now too. So, all right, this next book is Getting to Know the World's Greatest Artists, Johannes Vermeer. We've been listening to Chasing Vermeer by Blue Balliet, which has a lot of different things in it. But one of the main things that they're following are this Vermeer painting that got stolen, and then other Vermeer paintings pop up throughout the story as well. And so I checked out this book so that my kids could see the paintings that they were talking about. I also pulled them up on the computer while we were listening to the audiobook so they could see exactly what they were talking about, but I wanted them to have a little bit more background as well. So I like these Getting to Know the World's Greatest Artists books, and it has some nice reproductions of the paintings. I will say that Chasing Vermeer was a little bit over my kids' head. Some of the more philosophical discussions that are supposed to be kind of funny or thought-provoking just went over my kids' heads, and so they were like, oh, this part's boring. We want to get back to the mystery. So we have chosen not to continue on in the series yet. I think my kids will enjoy it a lot more when they're a little bit older. This next book is, it's actually also by Isabel Thomas. It's called 30 Trillion Cells, How Your Body Really Works. So it just goes through all the different kinds of cells in the body and how they function in different systems. I will say they do go through sex cells, but then they don't go through the reproductive system, which I'm always a little bit irritated when books that supposedly go over every body system leave that one out. But it had some nice pictures of things. The endocrine system was really good. This one was fun too. These next two books are all by Grace Lin. We recently went to one of her author talks, and it was geared towards kids in, I think, K through 5th grade, so around the ages that my kids are at. But it was all about how books are published traditionally in a traditional publishing structure. And actually this book was the sample book that she used, and she had some of the original artwork and was talking all about how the text and the artwork and everything all comes together and all the people that are involved in the process of publishing a book. So my kids wanted to then check out and reread all of the books that she mentioned in her talk. So we checked out this Olvina Flies, about a chicken wanting to fly a plane, and then she goes swimming. Once Upon a Book, this one is written by Grace Lin and Kate Messner, and then Grace Lin did the illustrations, and it's about a girl who crawls into the pages of her favorite books. We've checked this one out before. This one's fun. This part looks like A Big Mooncake for Little Star, which is my son's favorite Grace Lin book, so that was kind of fun. A Big Mooncake for Little Star and A Big Bed for Little Snow. This one's about the moon cycles and also the Mid-Autumn Moon Festival. So this one's fun. And then A Big Bed for Little Snow is about snowfall, essentially. Him jumping on his bed makes it snow. So those two are really fun. My son especially loves those two books. This next book I checked out because I was hoping it would be like, there's this book called Fairy Tale Science that pairs fairy tales with STEM activities. And so I was hoping this would be like that for mythology, but it's more like a question answer kind of book, which is still cool. I just was hoping it was something slightly different. So it talks about big questions that myths try to address, the ways that different myths address them, and then the actual science that answers that question. So also still really cool, just not what I was hoping it would be. Oh, this next book is called Circles, and it's a math book that I checked out just because I thought it looks cute, but it's all about circles and different things you can do with circles. My kids like that one. This book I actually checked out for my toddler. She is really into animals. She's my only kid who's really into like animals in general. My son likes ocean stuff, but otherwise doesn't care a whole ton about animals. But my youngest seems like she's going to be my animal lover, which is exciting. I'm an animal lover, and I was as a kid as well. So I checked this encyclopedia out for her, and we looked through it, and she really liked, she didn't care so much about these, but the pictures of the real animals she got really excited about. So that was cute. This next book, Lonely Planet Kids, has a bunch of these how blank work, and it has all these flaps and things. Actually, now that I'm doing this, I feel like I might have shown this in one of my other library hauls, or maybe their train one, but we really like these books. They have a lot of information, and they're very interactive, so they're fun. Again, we don't sit and read the whole thing. It's more like my kids look through it, and when they have a question, they'll have me read part of it, or when they were younger, they would have me read part of it. Now they can just read it themselves. So they went through this and enjoyed that. The next set of books that I have to show you are what my daughter's doing for literature right now. So she signed up for our town's spelling bee, and I found the Scripps National Spelling Bee's list of recommended books that are vocabulary rich and interesting and everything. So we've been reading through those. So these are some of the books from that list. Not all of them. We've returned some of them already, and I think a couple are in the car. But this first one is called Bubbles Up. We really liked this one. It was very cute. And it really does have good vocabulary. Like, it introduces the word aqueous. And we talked about how you could say it aqueous or aqueous, but it means the same thing. And yes, we enjoyed that one a lot. This next one is called Mama's Sleeping Scarf. This is really cute. It's about a girl who is kind of experiencing a little bit of separation anxiety. And so her mom wears a protective headscarf at night when she sleeps. So she keeps that headscarf with her during the day. So that one was really fun. This next one is Mama Shamsi at the Bazaar. So they go to a market and kind of all the things that they see and do along the way. So that one was nice too. This book is called Misha Makes Friends, and it's about a little girl who's feeling overwhelmed and like she can't make friends, but then she finds somebody who gets her essentially, and she makes a friend. So that was really cute. This next book is called Do You Remember? And it's all about things they remember from before they moved, basically. So yeah. This next book we've actually already read. I read it to my kids as a read aloud a long time ago, but my daughter read it again for this. So this is Indian Shoes by Cynthia Lightich Smith, and it's connected stories. So they're all about the same kid, but it's kind of different episodes from his life. And he is Cherokee, but he lives in Chicago. So he doesn't live on the reservation, but he talks about going back to visit and kind of different things that they do in their life to preserve their heritage while they live in Chicago. So I really like this one. My daughter has also already read this series, but we checked them out again, and she kind of skimmed them. And then each book in this series, Word Travelers, takes place in a different location. And so each book features words from that location. So there's Word Travelers and the Missing Mexican Mole, Word Travelers and the Big Chase in Paris, and then the first one takes place in India. I don't remember what it's called, but we returned it already. But then at the back of the book, there's a glossary where they go over some of the words from whatever region they're traveling to. So what my daughter's been doing is reading me the glossary, and we've been discussing the words for each of these books. So that's been fun. This next book is written in verse. It's called Singing with Elephants. It's about a girl who lives in Santa Barbara, and her parents run a veterinary clinic where they take care of all sorts of weird animals. And then the famous author Gabrielle Mistral moves into the area and she develops a friendship with this girl. And then they have to save an elephant at the parents' clinic. And yeah, this one was just really fun. This next one we haven't read yet. It's called The Secret Battle of Evan Powell. And so he moves from California to Virginia. And it's all about the racism, essentially, that he experiences in the South. And what he does with that and how he comes to terms with everything. So this next one my daughter really liked, because it has cartoons in it. Hannah Sharp, Cartoon Detective. So she's solves stories and she has these little comics that she writes about this pickle sheriff character. And there's other comics as well. But yeah, this one was fun. I don't love the art style in this one, but it was still a fun read. This next book is called Peter Nimble and His Fantastic Eyes. It's about a blind orphan who... It's a fantasy novel, like a middle grade fantasy novel. And it's about this blind orphan who has become a thief to support himself. And one day he steals this box with 3 magical eyes. And then all the adventures that he goes on with the 3 magical eyes. This next book is called No One Leaves the Castle. And it's about 2 friends who have kind of made up this very inflated reputation for themselves. And so they go to try to solve a mystery and get in over their heads and their adventures along the way. That's all the books that we have from the spelling bee list right now. The last stack I have to show you is the books that my son is reading for Fish Tank ELA. He's currently doing the Life Cycles unit, which is their spring unit. And I don't have all the books here again because we've returned some of them, but we went over plant life cycles and we read this book From Seed to Sunflower. This book is out of print now, which is a shame because I really like the illustrations. And so they had a newer book that they suggested instead, but my library did not have the newer book. It had this book, and I remember doing this book with my daughter. So I got this book for that. We did frogs. So we had this Gail Gibbons book. Goes over the life cycle of frogs. And then this book also goes over the life cycle of frogs, a little bit more detail and real pictures. Butterflies, we did, that's upside down. Waiting for Wings by Lois Ehlert. I really like all of her books. And this one, again, has fun, like a lot of her books, has fun little flaps and stuff. But it goes over butterfly life cycles. Also for butterfly life cycles, from caterpillar to butterfly. This is part of the Let's Read and Find Out science series. I love the Let's Read and Find Out books. They're very clear. They're very to the point. They have activities in the back if you would like to extend your reading. They're really written at a good level for kids, elementary kids to understand. This book, Summer Birds, about Maria Sibylla Merian, is also part of this unit. The Fish Tank unit had a note that this book is now out of print, so I happen to own a copy. I specifically bought it because I saw that it was going out of print, and I really, really like this book. So we read that for part of this unit. And then now we're working on the bird life cycle part of it. So Nest Full of Eggs, also from the Let's Read and Find Out Science. Have You Heard the Nesting Bird? Egg to Chicken. And then to cap off the unit, Ugly Duckling by Jerry Pinkney. I really like Jerry Pinkney's stories and illustrations. This is one of the few books by Jerry Pinkney that you don't read during the authors and illustrators unit earlier in the year, because he's one of the author illustrators featured in that unit. So now we're reading it, kind of coming back around and building on what we learned before. Anyway, those are some of the things that we checked out from the library in the month of March. I hope you found this helpful. I will link everything in the description box below. I am trying to move away from Amazon as much as possible, so I'm not sure yet what form the links will be in. I'm hoping that I can use Bookshop to link everything, but we'll see. As of filming this video, I'm not totally certain. So, thanks for watching.